Hello and welcome back to another iPad calligraphy tutorial. Today we're talking about color dynamic brushes. We have looked at Brush Studio in depth in another tutorial, but I want to focus in on color dynamic and specifically secondary color. So you probably know by now that color dynamic was introduced with Procreate 5 and allows you to create brushes that change their color both with pressure change and also with stroke. So we have some lovely abilities here, and I've looked at this in detail in another tutorial. But what you might not know is that there's also another feature called secondary color. And what this allows us to do is alternate between two specific colors we choose. The normal color dynamic settings don't give you a lot of control over the color. You can change the brightness and contrast of them and also the hue and saturation. So you can set them to be quite vibrant or you can dull them down in tone. But overall, there's not a lot of control that you have over the actual specific colors. But what you can do is set secondary colors so that it alternates between two colors of your choosing. If you want to edit any brushes, I would just duplicate the brush by swiping to the left and pressing duplicate. That way you have a backup. So I can just rename this brush backup. And then we can go back and work with this other brush, and I'll just rename that. To rename a brush, you go into About This Brush in the Brush Studio, and that will bring you in and you can just rename your brush. So I'll call this IPC Chalky Secondary. Okay, so now another thing we can do is also create a reset point. And what that does is if you make any changes, you can always reset it back to this exact point. That's another form of backing up the brush. We've got this reset point that we can always revert to after making changes. Great, so we've got our brush ready to go. So I'm going to make some changes now. As this works now, I'll just show you by writing on this layer again so you can see it. I've just got I'll select a pink color, and we'll just see how this looks. So you can see we alternate between different tones of blue as it's currently set. So even though I've got pink selected, it's then choosing different colors, so we don't have any control over that. Okay, so I'm going to adjust the settings just by tapping on the brush, and I'll come into Brush Studio here and go into Color Dynamics just on the left. And we're going to adjust a few things. First of all, I'm going to turn everything down. Some of the switches are 0 in the middle. So while that looks like it's set on 0, the blue line indicates that it's actually got a setting of -99. So what we want to do is set that one in the middle. And then we're just going to set everything at 0 so that we start with clean slate here. Right, so everything is now 0. And how I want this brush to adjust is with pressure. So I want the secondary color to be activated by pressure. So I'm going to bring that secondary color right up under the color pressure area. So that's on max, and then I'm also going to bring the saturation to match max as well. We'll come out and have a look. How do you set your secondary color? So basically you can just swap between these two colors just by tapping them. You'll find them on every panel in your color panel apart from palettes. It's not on palettes, but it's on value, harmony, classic, and disc. So any of those palettes will bring up this 2 color area here. And to change it, you just tap on it, choose your color, and to change the second one, tap on it, choose your color. So I'm going to keep that a pink and an aqua color. So I'm going to come out here and just use the brush lightly, and I get the blue, and heavy, and I get the pink. So that's working really well. So we can see that's alternating between these 2 colors that are set. And you can test that out by just changing the color. So if I come into the pink and I change that to a red, and now using a light pressure, dark pressure. The light pressure is bringing in that red, and the darker pressure is bringing in that aqua color, as you can see here. So that alternates between the 2 colors. And that is how you use the secondary feature. So now if we want to draw some calligraphy or lettering, we'll just see how that looks. So you get that really nice transition when you're using a lighter pressure, and then it blends into the aqua when you use a heavier pressure. So in this word, there's a lot more downstrokes than up. So we're seeing that aqua a lot more often, but you do get the red as you start to ease up on the pressure. You get that red coming through. So that's really cool. So I'm also going to just bring that into color tilt. So I'll turn my secondary color right up to maximum under the color tilt section. So that should, I'm going to go back to that sort of pinky tone, and that should bring that in when I'm kind of tilting the Apple Pencil, so it just brings it in a little bit more often. So that means we can kind of control it a little bit more so that it's not just on the pressure of the stroke, and I can kind of try and tilt my pencil as I'm writing so that we get like a little bit more of that pink showing. So that's nice. It's nice and subtle, so you get this fleck of a different color, and you could use even just a lighter blue so that it kind of works with the same family. So an aqua and a lighter aqua that kind of blend together really well. So it's not super noticeable, but you do get that really sense of dynamic lettering. If you wanted to revert this back to the brush before, then you just come into the About This Brush tab, tap your Reset Brush button, and then press Reset. And now this is back to the other brush that we had before that changes color really dynamically. Great, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out the channel for loads more Procreate videos, and I'll see you next time.